Recent statistics by UNICEF says over 100 children are infected with diphtheria. Today on Soundhealth, we are taking a look at the growing outbreak of diphtheria in Nigeria. Good evening. Welcome to Soundhealth on Lagos Television. I am Olasumbo Modupe. The conversation begins after this break. Please stay tuned.
The COVID-19 pandemic has increased how societies value health. We have never been so aware of government actions to protect our health and well-being. Yet, too often, people's insights and lived experiences remained unheard in government decision-making. Governments must make a targeted effort to change this. Amplifying people's voices in health policy making by using participatory spaces as part of decision-making processes is the way forward. If these spaces are well designed and used regularly, they have a transformative potential to become a potent tool for more responsive and implementable policies. There are many ways governments can engage with the population to capture their needs. Mechanisms such as open forums, citizen juries, consultative meetings, and district health committees with fixed seats for civic and community groups are all methods of engagement. But government resources and capacities are too often lacking to manage these spaces effectively. The WHO Handbook on Social Participation for UHC provides practical guidance for policymakers to engage with the population by creating, strengthening, and sustaining participatory spaces. Policymakers must learn how to design spaces to empower people to express themselves frankly.
It is still Soundhealth on Lagos Television. Joining us via Zoom this evening is Professor Adekunle Olowe, Center for Emerging and Re-emerging Infectious Disease with Department of Medical Microbiology, College of Health Sciences, LAUTECH, Ogbomosho, and he is going to bring us up to speed with updates about the diphtheria outbreak in Nigeria. Good evening, Professor Olowe, and thanks for joining us.
Good evening, Mr. Moderator.
All right, Professor Olowe, let's look at the recent update, the recent statistic by the UNICEF. It says more children are affected by the diphtheria outbreak. Can you please bring us up to speed?
Yeah, thank you for having me this evening. I think the first question is, what is diphtheria? I would still say is a bacterial disease that is caused by two particular strains of bacteria that can cause this infection, mostly in children under age. And they are basically Corynebacterial diphtheria and Corynebacterial ursulans. It's a bacterial disease, basically.
Okay, Professor. Okay, go ahead with your
case definition. Yeah, there's a case definition. Any upper respiratory tract infection that informs the nasopharynx, the pharynx, more like runny nose, fever, reddening of the eyes, sore throat, and cough. Those are the symptoms. That's the first severe symptoms. No, the first symptoms that you see, and you say this child is having diphtheria, and it's similar in children. Secondly, that's what we call clinical diagnosis. What is clinical diagnosis? When you open a child's mouth, you see what we call, it looks like a thick gray or a white patch on their tonsil. And this tonsil, they are the back of the throat, causing difficulty in breathing and in swallowing. And basically, when you open the mouth and you see this kind of, they call it pseudomembrane, you know this particular child is having diphtheria, and that's the first one. And when it becomes more complicated, when it's a severe case, that means that bacteria has the ability to produce toxin, which when it enters the bloodstream can cause damage to most of the body organ, basically inflammation of the kidney, inflammation of the heart muscles, the nerves are affected, which eventually affects the children basically. It affects the elderly too, but it's more seen among children, basically between year 1 to year 14 and 15 precisely. And that's what is diphtheria. It's more seen among the children, and it's basically linked to parents or people who refuse to take this vaccine. We call it vaccine-preventable diseases, which is predominantly in Nigeria right now. Thank you.
Okay, before we look at why, I know you just mentioned one of the reasons kids and children are infected by diphtheria. Let us know how this disease is transmitted.
Yeah, the first that goes to mind is the tuberculosis basically is an airborne disease. It's in the air. It's airborne respiratory droplets. That's number one. You can get it through direct contact with respiratory secretion of an infected symptomatic carrier. You can get it from the exudate or the pus from skin lesions of people who are affected with diphtheria. So those are and not only that, we have classification of diphtheria. We have nasopharyngeal that affect the nose. We have cutaneous, those that affect the body, the skin, basically. We have the pharyngitis that affect the pharyngia, the tonsillia, the tonsil, basically the upper part of the human body. And you see, because the children are not too, basically is a vaccine-preventable disease. If a child refuses to take vaccine, definitely diphtheria is likely to affect such individual.
Okay, how do we test for this disease?
Yeah, like I said, we have clinical diagnosis. In clinical diagnosis, when a child starts having high fever, runny nose, redness of the eye, the sore throat, the cough, those are the primary symptoms. Then, like I said, you look for what we call pseudomembrane, that thick grayish patch at the back of the throat. Once that is seen, that's the primary confirmation that this child may have diphtheria. And secondly, like I said, you must confirm that this bacteria has the ability to produce this toxin. And how do you do that? You do what we call a test called, you can use immunoprecipitin test, you can use cultural method used on tellurite, and you can use PCR identification. There are two-way clinical diagnosis and then cultural diagnosis. You can even go to molecular diagnosis to be sure that this organism has the ability to produce this toxin. It's a toxin that they are producing that has the ability to cause the damage, because when the toxin is produced, they enter, when it becomes more severe, if it's not well treated and the toxin is not given, they enter their body systems and it causes a lot of damage basically to the, like I said, to the heart, to the nerves of the body, and eventually can lead to low blood count, low blood platelets, and eventually the child may have problems even in breathing. And there could be complications too from this diphtheria when a child is not well taken care of or is not well treated on time. That could be what we call respiratory problem with breathing. It could have, when the child has pseudomembrane, it's like it's a growth on their tonsil that can block the breathing system. And when that one is initiated, then the pseudomembrane is like a thick material that keeps on growing and growing. And when it blocks that air pathway, then it really becomes a problem. A student comes in and the child may die if it's not well treated and given the vaccine. Also, the antitoxin.
All right, Professor Olowe, it's a good thing that it is a vaccine-preventable disease. But let us know this: the vaccines the children must take. You said children that have not been vaccinated fully are at risk of getting infected. Let us know these vaccines a child must take.
Yeah. Well, the 3 doses of pentavalent is like the diphtheria toxoid containing the vaccine. And when the child is born, at the 6th, 10th, 14th week of life, they must take this vaccine. At the 6th, 10th, and 14th week of life, they must be given pentavalent, because it's basically the vaccine that we have to give to this. Let me say this too. We have some people that are not even, they call them asymptomatic carrier. They have this diphtheria, but they're not showing symptoms.
Symptoms are not
And those are under carried we have this in the society. When someone is having a disease, it's not showing the symptoms, and you have a contact with the person, those are another mode of transmission of diphtheria. And it's even from food handlers, people that give food to our children in nurseries, they may be asymptomatic carrier not showing the symptoms. And when they have access to that, even sharing of cups, pencils, our clothing materials can harbor this for 6 months in your body and see the problem going on and on like that.
Now, have we seen cases where those that have been fully vaccinated still come down with the disease, diphtheria?
Yeah, that's true. That's even when you have a diphtheria, that's what we call prognosis. You have a diphtheria, you are given the antitoxins, and you recover. That somebody have an infection does not mean they will develop immunity. Sometimes it's always good to give the toxoid again, give vaccination, and because, like I said, that when the toxin enters the bloodstreams, it's initiated inflammation of the heart muscles and the rest like that. When you put antitoxin will only go to arrest those toxins in the body. Those damaged tissues of the muscles of the heart or the nerves, you have to give antibiotics. So it's not just giving vaccination, you give antibiotics too. And those antibiotics, erythromycin and penicillin, you give them. And when they take this vaccine and antibiotics, they have a way of eliminating the organism from the system. And not only that, the level of damage of these toxins from any individual depends on the age of the individual we're talking about. It depends on the immune systems of the person and the level the toxins have done to the body system. If the body system has so much damage, then of course you have complications. I want to do something and it's not well treated, then that's a problem. Like I said, it's just vaccine, then awareness to people, because a lot of people are not even aware. People are due to poor environment, illiteracy, especially in the northern part of the area of the world, of Nigeria. There needs to be more advocacy, more awareness on the vaccine. And that's the only way out. Thank you.
Okay, apart from vaccines now, are there other precautionary measures to look out for?
Yes. For example, like when I look at the scenario of diphtheria, let's look at insecurity that is pervading the northern part of Nigeria. IDP camp areas where there's overcrowding. Those are some of the risk factors for spread of diphtheria. When there are people are living in overcrowded environment, poor sanitation, lack of proper hygiene. This basically will encourage the spread of diphtheria disease in Nigeria. There are many ways we can do that. The government needs to put in more effort to really help in the campaign for awareness. Most of the primary health sectors in other parts of Nigeria, do they really have this vaccine? That's the first question we need to talk about. When do they have this vaccine? Now, do they have access to the vaccine? Do they have transportation to the place where they can have access to it? Somebody who lives in a rural area, you will know that primary health care is like a government effort to get to the people in the rural area, low people live in the bush area. Do they have access to the vaccine? That's the first thing we need to talk about. Do they have access to the vaccine? Do they have awareness when they give birth? Are there advocacy? Are there people doing campaign more to enlighten people in those areas? Because look at people that are affected in Nigeria. For example, as far as to April this year, we have over 1,439 cases with 73 deaths in Nigeria. As at the month of August, we have total cases of 1,534 cases of diphtheria with 137 deaths. Something is not right here. It shows that when we look at the states that are affected, we're talking of Kano, we're talking of Yobe, we're talking of Bauchi, we're talking of Katsina, we're talking of Lagos, we talk of Federal Capital Territory and Katsina. Those 7 areas, you see them more in the northern part of the world. And it shows something is happening right down there. Is that the insecurity is part of what's going on? We have IDP all over the places, overcrowding. These are precautions, these are factors that lead to spread of diphtheria. And we're going to do something about that.
All right, your call to action as we wrap up now.
Well, the good news is that, like I said, the main goal is we need to get people to be aware that they have to be vaccinated, especially for children, at the age of 6, 10, 14 of week of life, they have to be vaccinated. Avoid contact with suspected people. Avoid contact with contaminated clothing materials, because this bacteria can be in the air, even in the dust, for 6 months. And the most important thing is that everybody should be aware that this bacteria is real and it's highly contagious. It's an infectious agent. It's an infectious disease that can be prevented by vaccine, by proper hygiene, avoid overcrowded environment, avoid with asymptomatic carrier, and the government should do more research. And because for a community to come down with diphtheria, there must be 70% herd immunity. When the immunity of an environment is very low, there's a possibility that there will be an outbreak. When there's an outbreak, do we have enough antitoxin to go around? And to avoid that, there must be more awareness, there must be government do more effort to make sure that diphtheria is a thing of the past in federal Nigeria. Thank you.
Professor Adekunle Olowe, Center for Emerging and Re-emerging Infectious Diseases, Department of Medical Microbiology, College of Health Sciences, LAUTECH, Ogbomosho. Thank you so much for your time on Sound Health. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, Sound Health continues with trending health report from around the world. Please stay tuned. It is still Sound Health on Lagos Television. More to come in a moment. This is where we say thank you on today's episode of Sound Health. Ensure your children are fully vaccinated. Visit the nearest health facility if you feel any symptoms of diphtheria. You also need to wash your hands thoroughly with soap and water. For comments and inquiries, please send SMS to 0035826603 or follow us on social media at LTV Social, #SoundHealth. A sound health is a sound mind. Make healthy living your choice.